Good morning, children. We are studying the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, written by Stephen Spendle. This is the second poem in the main course book Flamingo of class 12. We have already studied first and second stanzas of this poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Today we are going to study third and fourth stanzas of this poem. And then after that I'll provide you notes on these four stanzas. So let's go ahead with this poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. The tone of the poem is very sober and philosophical, as you have understood it. The theme revolves around the profound problem that affects our society at large. And what is the theme? Theme is social injustice and class inequalities, and as a result of that, how poor people are suffering in our society. The universal gap between rich and the poor is highlighted. So what is happening? Rich are becoming richer, poor are becoming poorer. As a result of that, the gap is widening between the rich and the poor. It also highlights the irony of the life in the 21st century, where the world has made so many advancements, yet an atmosphere of gloominess prevails. We have developed a lot. We keep on talking about our scientific and technological development, and we are very much proud of all these advancements. But have we really civilized? Have we really developed? Is it that all of us have developed? So there are people belonging to lower strata of society who are still suffering a lot. Their children are in miserable condition, and the poet wants to show us all that it is not that whatever the development has taken place is really good for all people. It has not reached to large section of people, and that is what he points out in this poem. So the theme of this poem is social injustice and class inequalities. Now let us go to the third stanza of this poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with sheep and sun and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night. On their slag heap the children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle beads on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So before we go through the interpretation of this poem, let us take up some of the difficult words that you come across here in this particular stanza. Slag. Now slag is a waste material. On the slag heap, on the dirty waste, where there is a heap which all piled up there. So these are the children who are living there on that. So these children have got houses where the surrounding is very, very dirty. Now for lives that slyly, secretly, trickily, tempting, attracting. Now mended glass, repaired glass. So let's go to this poem. Surely Shakespeare is wicked. What does it mean? Shakespeare is evil. Why Shakespeare is evil for them? The map, a bad example. Shakespeare's literature is of no use to them. The literary excellence of Shakespeare doesn't portray the lives of these people. And Shakespeare's literature, which deals with love, which deals with jealousy, has no place in the lives of the children. On one hand, they will not understand Shakespeare because the theme that we find in Shakespeare's drama, they are altogether different. And Shakespeare is evil for them, is a bad example for them. They will not understand his literature. The map, a bad example. The map shows the development. Shakespeare's literature shows literary excellence. The map shows the development that has taken place in the world. How in the world the civilization has developed over the years. So the map is a bad example for them. And the beautiful things in the world, the ships, then the rising sun, the love, that all attracts them, and they want to steal all that. But they want to steal all that because they don't enjoy all that. That is why they want to steal all that. It's all attracting them. But they are secretly living there. The world is not showing the kind of lives they are living there. The miserable lives that they are living there. In their cramped holes. In those small houses. In those small cottages. Or those crowded lanes. And their life, it starts from fog to endless night. So their future is very much unclear. So it starts from fog, that means totally unclear, and to endless night, and there's lot of uncertainty, and the night, that's darkness, that is all endless. And they are living there on this slag heap, they are living there where it's all piled up, all dirt. Probably the garbage is all piled up there in those slum areas. The children were quite thin, were malnourished, where skins peeped through by bones. And what you can see? You can see their bones. Hardly any muscle in their body. And what they are having? They don't have good eyesight. And they are wearing those glasses, spectacles of steel with mended glasses. And those glasses, they have been repaired. And they all appear like bottle bits. They all appear like pieces of bottles. How the bottles are broken on the stones and pieces are lying here and there. They all appear like those pieces. So they are in very bad condition, those spectacles. Even then they are wearing because they cannot afford. So here you see sheep, sun, love. They all symbolize what? They all symbolize joy and happiness. And these children are deprived of all that. And that's why then he says, all of their time and space are foggy slum. All their time, all their place, that's all the slum. And they don't go beyond that. So blot their maps with slums as big as do. And whatever the development that we have taken place, whatever the development that has taken place in the society, it's a blot on the map. Why it's a blot on the map? Because here the development has not reached to this particular area. And therefore They are the blots on the world of the rich and the great. The slums are living hells, and it's like doom. They are like living hells because they are all dirty, they are all very, very cramped, small, and these children, they have to remain there. These children who are very weak, very malnourished, they have to lead their life day and night in those slums. So what is urgently required is to provide them opportunity to lead a dignified and civilized life. And that is what the poet talks about it in the next stanza. That's the last stanza. Now let us move on to the last stanza of this poem. That's the fourth stanza. And this last stanza and the first stanzas are very, very important. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break, oh break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books. The white and green leaves open, history theirs, whose language is the sun. Now here, the poet says that the elementary school is existing for namesake. The infrastructure is very, very poor there. The school springs into action only when governor or school inspector or visitor takes a round. Now, unless they come, this school will not be in activity. So, the administrative machinery of the school gears up at that particular time. And those are the people who may bring about some changes if they wish to do that. And they must bring about that change. This is what is the appeal to the authorities by the poet. And when they come, there's a hope. This map becomes their window. Probably the strategy they come out with, that becomes their window. Probably they can have a ray of hope. And these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. And these are the windows which have been closed down their lives. They have been confined to catacombs. They have been confined to remain like underground graves. Beautiful simile is used by the poet there. Like catacombs. Like underground graves, catacombs. Like pyramid, in the pyramid you see the underground graves are there. So these people are leading their lives there where the world doesn't come to know about their lives. And these people, when they visit, they are the ones who can show to the world the kind of life they are leading and bring about changes in their lives. Break, oh break open till they break the town. Break, oh break open till they break the town. So he appeals all the children to break all those boundaries till they break the town and show the children, so that let everybody in the town come to know the kind of lives these people are leading, and show the children to green fields. So let them see the prosperity. Green fields, beautiful metaphor here. And make their world run azure on gold sands. Let their future be golden. So the poet hopes that the children will break free from their morbid life, from the chains of the kind of vicious circle they are caught in. They should come out of that. He appeals to those in power to liberate the children from the miserable slums and enable them to breathe in the fresh, beautiful and healthy environment. Let them have prosperous life. Let them have golden future. Let their tongues run naked into books. Let them express. Let them be creative. Let them visualize freedom. Run azure on golden sands. The white leaves, green leaves, white leaves books. So let them express and let them come out with original thoughts. Green leaves, let them have prosperity. Let them have knowledge. And if they acquire that knowledge, then definitely history, theirs, whose language is the sun. So where we see brightness, if they are able to express confidently, if there's a brightness, if there's a ray of hope, and if they are able to express all that, then definitely these children will create history. So the ones who are let free are the ones who will create history. They'll be able to outshine others. They'll glow like the sun. And they will break themselves free from the constraints of their restricted life. And they will get rid of the diseases of the twisted bones. And they will be the ones who will be leading totally different kind of life. But it is all possible only when the bureaucrats, the politicians take interest and do something worthwhile to see that these people lead good life, prosperous life like others. Let us study the literary devices that we come across in this poem. The important ones have been taken up here. Far, far, this repetition here. So repetition is a literary device. Simile. You are all familiar with the literary device simile. Like rootless weeds, when like or as is used, that we call simile. So here, like rootless weeds, that's a simile here. Alliteration, sound of repetition here, sir, sir. So sir sound is repeated. Spectacles of steel, ships and sun. Sir, sir sound is repeated. Spectacles of steel, sir, sir sound is repeated. Bottle bits, bur, bur sound. So bottle bits. The imagery, what is visualized? Bell shaped, flowers, flowery, Tyrolese valley. So you start visualizing. So that's imagery. So you start having images in your mind. Run azure on gold sands. So that visualization, when you have that, we call that figure of speech, imagery. Then the metaphor, the paper swimming boy, the boy as thin as paper, that's a metaphor, with rat's eyes. So how the rat looks for food, similar way these hungry children are looking for food. So with rat's eyes, so their eyes are compared with the rat's eyes. So these are the examples of metaphor. And then let's have the revision. Let's see the key points in this poem. The children in the slums are far from resembling the mighty waves of the sea, and are instead like rootless weeds, frail, within, vulnerable, and malnourished. The sight of the children in the classroom is a miserable one. A girl stands with a bowed down head, burdened. A boy so thin that he looks as if made of paper. The small dingy classroom is stuffed with donations, a bust of Shakespeare, a painting of the beautiful Tyrolese valley, and a map. However, the windows of the classroom present a different sight, the far from perfect world they live in, with its lead sky and dirty surroundings. The lines of Shakespeare, art, culture, the map, all are bad examples of the world, as they don't correspond to the real conditions of these kids who are living in, and might lead them to commit crimes by tempting them with false promises. The living conditions of the children must be improved before educating them, and they need food before they are given a book. The poem appeals to the authorities to either improve the economic conditions of the children or allow them to enjoy the sounds and sights of nature and a happy childhood in the meantime.